What is up, wrestling fans? Thanks for tuning in to the Wrestle Report, episode 10. We finally hit double digits. We want to thank you guys for listening so far and continue to entertain you with wrestling talk in the future. I'm your host, Phil, and as always, I got Don with me. We had to take a week off because Don didn't have a voice last week, but he does now. What's going on, man? How you been?
I've been good, man. I'm happy I had my voice back, man. It was bad. Yeah, you heard it. It was
I
tough,
did,
man.
yeah. He sent me a little voice memo just so I could hear it, and yeah, I tried to throw an episode together, while he was still working on that, but it wouldn't have been the same, so we decided to wait. So episode 10 also corresponds, or would have last week, and it still will now, with the 1-year anniversary of AEW Dynamite on TNT. Obviously, the company itself's a little older than that, but last week was the 1-year anniversary show, really back-to-back. It was more of a 2-week event for them. They had the 30th anniversary of Chris Jericho in wrestling, and then they parlayed that into the 1-year anniversary of the company's television show, really. So we would have talked about that last week. We definitely didn't want to pass that up, so we're going to start with that today. I think the biggest thing on the 30th anniversary of Chris Jericho show, oddly enough, had nothing to do with Chris Jericho, because I thought seeing the dog collar match between Cody and Brody Lee, I think we talked about it on the previous episode. I can't remember the last time there was a dog collar match, let alone on regular television. So that definitely got the world buzzing. Cody did regain the TNT championship in that match. Definitely, even if you don't typically watch AEW, I think it's something that a lot of people have checked out since it's happened. But very good. Really could have been the main event if that show wasn't centered around Chris Jericho.
Yeah, for real. It should have actually.
Yeah.
Even though I don't care. I don't care if it was Chris Jericho's 30-year anniversary. It should have been the main event just because it was a great match.
Yeah. I mean, the Chris Jericho thing really could have been anywhere. I understand why they did put it where they did. And then obviously you move into the 1-year anniversary show where they kind of pegged as every championship on the line. And one of the biggest things that happened is the Young Bucks becoming the number one contenders for the AEW tag team titles for Full Gear. We're finally going to get, as of right now, the AEW tag title match of the Revival, FTR versus the Young Bucks, something that's been 6-7 years in the making. They did jump them after the bell, and they did injure, I think it was Matt's knee. So who knows, they might play off that in the weeks blowing up to Full Gear. But at the moment, looks like we're finally going to get that tag team dream match.
Yeah, I'm happy. They were stalling really badly. I understand they wanted to probably do this in front of a live crowd,
That
a
was
big
probably it
crowd
too.
in the stadium. Then they shouldn't tease it for this long, But even though they really didn't technically tease it too long, they just from signing them onto AEW,
Yeah.
that's what really ignited that fire.
Yeah, because you can't sign them and then not even acknowledge that these two teams are in the same company. So really, they had no choice but to slow burn this. Obviously, if in a normal era where they have fans, I still think they would have waited a little while. But Full Gear is the perfect time. I mean, AEW, their pay-per-view system is different. There's only 4 or 5 a year, so it's not like you don't waste a dream match on a No Mercy, but there are no mercies in AEW. They have their big 4, maybe one other, so all 4 of them feel, huge. So it really didn't matter what show. Sure, they could have done it for All Out or what have you, but at that point there wasn't any fans, and Double or Nothing, same with that. Or there was a little fans at All Out, none at Double or Nothing. They could have pulled it off there, but I think they're waiting to this point. What was good, it'll probably be the selling point of that pay-per-view, and that works for them. I don't know that it'll be the main event necessarily, because there is a lot of other good matches on Full Gear. We'll probably break that down either this week or next, but that'll be probably the most anticipated one, regardless of what else is on the card.
Oh yeah, I think it'll definitely be the steal of the night.
So we haven't really had a top 3 in a few episodes, just based on the draft and everything. That was the last episode and things like that. But I wanted to do top 3 AEW Dynamite moments from the first year. I think it was a good time to do that, to really reflect. And it is crazy to think Dynamite has had more episodes in the COVID era than not COVID era. So almost when you think back to those packed arenas in Washington and Baltimore and Philadelphia and everywhere else, it almost doesn't feel like the same show. But it definitely is. So if you had to pick your top 3, as someone who, doesn't always watch Dynamite live, you're usually more of an NXT guy, but based on what you've seen, what were your 3 top Dynamite moments or matches?
Well, I start off with number 3 is my. I fell in love with the tag scene on the night 1. Private Party when they beat the Young Bucks in the first actual show.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was pretty cool. I like this. I like to see some of the moves that they was doing are great. They're a great tag team, and I want to see what they could do in the future because they're relatively young.
Mm-hmm.
So number 2 was now I got events that I really liked, which was Bash at the Beach.
Mm-hmm.
Bash at the Beach. I thought it was a good callback to WCW. I know Vince is probably like, try to get it, couldn't get it.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know to this day if that was 100% legal. It's possible that's the first and only one of those that we're gonna get, but at least they can say they've done it.
They've done it. And then number 1 was Jericho's cruise ship. I just like the fact that they was on a cruise ship wrestling, and it still looked great. The way that they had it presented was perfect.
I'm really shocked that we've never seen a WWE, like WWE didn't do that first. Like they've done, they did like a Navy airstrip in the ocean, if that counts, way back when with Yokozuna and Lex Luger and whatnot. But yeah, it was really smart how they did it. I think they filmed it earlier, either the night before or early in the day, because obviously when you're out in the ocean, broadcasting gets a little tricky. So they did it like from the dock, but you couldn't tell. It looked like you might as well have been in the middle of the ocean. And they just aired it the next night. It was really one of the first times that you could have maybe found spoilers for it, but you didn't want to ruin it for yourself, so you didn't bother.
Even if you did if you did listen to the spoilers and stuff, it was just nice to see the scenery.
You still want to see
like
it.
You still want to see like how they did it. Like you said, I'm an NXT guy, and I was watching that more than NXT. Had that on the TV, NXT on the phone, which is not a typical Wednesday for me. Yeah.
Right. Any honorable mentions?
No, not really.
No. Okay. Solid 3. All right. So some of mine will kind of overlap. You mentioned the Bash at the Beach show. That whole show was great, but the part that I will remember the most, and I think it's what most people, Cody versus Wardlow, he was still working his way to finally getting his hands on MJF, and they had that cage match in which Cody did the moonsault off the top of the cage, which was probably the first defining moment on Dynamite. The show was in Atlanta, which might as well be Cody's hometown, which I'm sure that meant even more to him. He really went out of his way to make their first show in Atlanta or Georgia in general a special one. So that's number 3. Number 2, I don't fully remember where this was. This was back when they were having, crowds and stuff. It might have been Washington or Baltimore, but the arrival of Lance Archer with Jake Roberts, because it came out of absolutely nowhere. Jake cuts his promo that shows that he still knows how to cut promos, and we're not here for everything, just your share. And like, you had 2 thoughts. You're like, holy shit, Jake Roberts is here, and why does he have beef with Cody of all people? Like he really came out like there's this deep heated hatred, and I don't think we ever really found out why. Maybe we will one day, but like he came in there like he had a personal vendetta against Cody, and he signed this behemoth of a dude to come after. Like, you didn't know why, and it left you confused in a good way. There's been plenty of great debuts. Obviously, Brody Lee would have been in Rochester, New York. His hometown would have been one of the biggest pops of all time. Obviously, it happened a week too late. COVID happened. The Matt Hardy debut. There's been a lot of great debuts. Brian Cage, that was on pay-per-view, though. But so as far as Dynamite goes, I think the best debut is definitely Archer with the help of Jake Roberts. Definitely goes up there for me. Number 1, we go back to the Jericho Cruise show. I think it was the main event. If not, it should have been the tag title match where Kenny Omega and Adam Page win the tag team titles, and nobody really, they thought it was just like, oh, they're kind of like an oddball tag team, and it'll eventually fizzle out. No, I don't think anyone expected them to win the titles and hold them for as long as they did. And at the moment, the most successful tag team in AEW, obviously FTR is coming for that. Hopefully in the future for them, but it was a very shocking moment. It was, again, the visuals of being on the cruise ship. You'll always remember that night any clip you see from that show, you'll know exactly what it is. Obviously, they had hoped to do one this year. Maybe they'll do one early next year. And I think it would still benefit them in a COVID era to do it because you could just have a little less people and space them out around the time. I think you could still pull off a cruise ship with COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, they're having 500 to 800 people at Daly's place anyway. So I think you could do a cruise ship in 2021, but we'll see. It might not happen until 2022 now. But hopefully we definitely get another cruise ship show because that was definitely great. So AEW obviously being the really the biggest competition to WWE. We haven't had a show on a major cable network like this in about 20 years. They're a year into it. They've been hit with something that, no one could have expected. It's even rocked WWE with the whole COVID situation. I mean, we've seen the example of this in other sports is like the XFL was humming along. They were doing good money, good attendance, and they could not sustain playing with no fans, and the whole thing shut down. The Rock has since bought it to be continued on their story. But the fact that AEW didn't miss a beat or a show in general is, I think, a lot for an upstart company is something that when they do get fans back, they're only going to do better. I think they went into survival mode, as you would being a new company.
Yeah.
So I don't think we got the full potential of AEW in year one to no fault of their own. I think we got 75% of what AEW's first year could have been, which is why I'm excited for year two, because if things get back to the new normal, we might get to see them at full mass here pretty soon, and that'll be great. So just happy 1 year to AEW. We know you're a little late. We're a little late on this, but looking forward to many more years to come. Other than the main pay-per-view that happened over the weekend, actually, no, before we get into that, we should touch on some NXT news also, because as you know, I always watch AEW and then I go back and watch NXT, and it's not often that you have to text me that something big happened, but we had the return of probably the most over guy now in NXT, in Pat McAfee in the main event of a NXT Tag Team Championship match, helping out Oney Lorcan and who's his partner again?
Danny Burch.
Danny Burch. I always forget. I never remember both their names at once. And they're the new NXT Tag Champ. And really, they've been there for a long time, either as singles competitors, and then this tag team's been going for a while. But it was cool to see them get the belts. Obviously, Fandango as champions kind of ran its course. They had the moment that they deserved, and now it's time to get it to actual NXT wrestlers. But go ahead and break down the whole return of Pat McAfee in NXT.
All right. So I don't know if you guys remember, or I don't know, Phil, if you remember the last takeover,
Mm-hmm.
Rich Holland had taken out Adam Cole.
Yes.
Then fast forward to that Wednesday, Rich Holland was said that someone paid him off, and that's how he got the car to take out Adam Cole.
Mm-hmm.
So we always trying to figure out who took out Adam Cole. The whole Undisputed Era was trying to figure that out too. Fast forward again to this past Wednesday. Roderick Strong and Bobby Fish were supposed to go against Fandango for the tag team titles. So little by little during the night of the match, you'll see stuff happen to Bobby Fish. Bobby Fish gets taken out. Mm-hmm. Then it was gonna just be Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly going against Fandango.
Mm-hmm.
Then Roddy gets hurt. So Bobby Fish is trying to figure out who's taking these people out. Bobby Fish says he does not want to pick another tag team partner. He needs to go check on his boys in the hospital. Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan got the chance to go against Fandango. Then you see a masked guy come out when Fandango was about to do his leg drop.
Mm-hmm.
Got pushed off, and then Danny Burch low blowed him, I believe. And then 1, 2, 3, Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch win the tag team titles. Then you see the masked man partying with them, and then all of a sudden you see the mask come off, and it was Pat McAfee this whole time. So Pat McAfee paid off Rich Holland,
mm-hmm.
and then he took out the rest of Undisputed Era. So I thought now I'm trying to figure out what's next. Are we gonna get another Adam Cole versus Pat McAfee match again?
Mm-hmm.
or are we gonna get a Bobby Fish? I don't know, not Bobby Fish, but a stable of
I would think,
Oney Lorcan and
yeah.
Danny Burch and Pat McAfee be the mouthpiece,
Mm-hmm.
and then you got the world is theirs
Yeah.
at this time. Like I'm hoping this means Pat McAfee has signed on the dotted line and he is now an NXT superstar.
Yeah. So at first glance, I'm like, what a weird team to put Pat with. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, well, these are two great in-ring guys that don't have a lot of great mic work, and that's where Pat comes in. So it's actually a great matchup the more you think about it. And I agree. I mean, the way this group thing has happened, I do think it'll be some form of I don't know if Pat will be the tag team's manager, and then, the guy he paid off will probably be there. Maybe they're heavy. I don't know if it'll be a full-blown faction, but I definitely see that grouping, Undisputed Era versus Pat and the boys at some point. I think that'd be a great second match for him.
See, well, that'll be great, but also Rich Harlan got hurt that
Mm-hmm.
same Wednesday, so he's gonna be out for a while. I think he tore his ACL against Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan, which is
right.
Which is it just falls into place.
but you could have Adam Cole, because he got taken out, so you could do it 3-on-3 even. Like there's ways around that. But no, I'm always excited. I was watching the Pat McAfee show before we started recording. I watch it almost every day. I'm a huge fan of Pat McAfee. Anytime he's on NXT, like I said, I do think he is an employee of some point. I don't think he'll ever be a guy that's just there every Wednesday or anything like that. But he must have, they have plans for him. And he even said on his show that after the Adam Cole thing, they had a plan for him to like pick up with something right away. And those kind of fizzled out. He said, I just kind of didn't hear from anybody. So maybe they just put it on the back burner for whatever reason, and then they came up with this plan instead. So I think the plan was always to have him do stuff. They just, like other phases of WWE, they don't always know what what it's going to be, and sometimes it changes 100 times. So it's good to see Pat there. And while
Definitely.
as you said, I watch AEW more, but I mean, I'm gonna have to keep tabs on this and see where it goes with them for sure. So good happening in NXT, and we also had a WWE pay-per-view over the weekend. But before that happened, that was not the best pay-per-view, in my opinion, of the weekend, because Impact Wrestling had Bound for Glory on Saturday night. And the last pay-per-view of theirs I watched, we actually talked about on episode 1, full circle here, when they had Slammiversary a couple months back, right after all the WWE releases were freed up. They had guys like the Good Brothers and other people show up on that show. Heath and Rhino were there, who are also on this show. So this is kind of the culmination of a lot of those storylines. We won't break this down match by match or anything, but there was a great X Division Championship match. They had a Call Your Shot gauntlet match, which I didn't know what that was. You just knew it involved 20 people. And there was this weird connect that Rhino and Heath were both in it, Heath Slater, and if Heath or Rhino won, Heath would get a contract, but if one of them didn't win, Rhino was fired. They had this weird tag team dynamic, and what this match ended up being was a Royal Rumble that the last two people had a normal match. So it actually came down to Rhino and Sami Callihan, and then they had a match, and Rhino won. So Rhino will get a future title shot, also earning his buddy Heath a title shot or a contract with Impact Wrestling. So pretty cool stuff. I was pretty invested in that. Once I didn't know what this gauntlet match was going to be. Once I realized it was a battle royal, I'm a huge I don't care who's in it. If you put a battle royal on a show, I'm watching it. That's just if you want me to watch your show, put a battle royal on it, and then I'll watch it. So that's just my thing.
When you say a battle royal, as in like a Royal Rumble, or are we talking like elimination? Like you got 5 people and it's a battle royal, and 1, 2, 3.
So this one was actually like 2 people started, another person came in every minute, and then you had to get thrown over the top rope. So, and then the last 2 was a actual match, like a one fall match. So, I think you could also get pinned, but almost every elimination was over the top rope. So I'm thinking that was the only way, because I've seen gauntlets that way where you can, in like Mexico and New Japan, where if you can pin, submit, or over the top rope. So it just depends on how you want to work it. You had Moose and EC3. They've had this weird connect because Moose has been carrying around the old TNA heavyweight title, and EC3 is trying to kill off that legacy. They had a cinematic match. It's something that Impact hasn't dabbled with in a while, but they were in this warehouse and there was all these hooded figures around. Moose ended up winning. It was kind of strange. That one got me a little bit. There was a great 4-way tag team title match. The North winning the titles back from the Motor City Machine Guns. The Good Brothers were also involved, as well as Ace Austin and Fulton. You might remember Fulton from NXT back in the day. He's over here now. Rich Swann defeating Eric Young, two, WWE-ish guys. Eric Young, obviously known way more for his Impact Wrestling tenure, but Rich Swann, they had this whole program where Eric Young took out his ankle, thought he was going to have to retire from wrestling. They ran this whole thing, and this was the part that me and you have talked about already, but Rich Swann is now the world champion of Impact Wrestling. Great moment. I don't know that he's someone that's going to bring the company to new heights. He might only hold it for a little while, but we're even in his WWE time, like I was a huge fan of Rich Swann. So it is really cool to see him get this moment, and a match with Eric Young that went about 20 minutes. Like, Eric Young is the ultimate professional. Like, you can always get a great match with him. So I think this was a great program. It did great business. All in all, just a really entertaining show. I was home and I realized, I'm like, let me see if I can find this show. It's on the Fight Network for people that want to watch it back. Really great, like 2.5 hours, like nice, nothing dragged. The Battle Royal was the longest thing on the show. It was 25 minutes, and then the main event was 20. Everything else was right in that 15-minute mark, so they knew what they wanted to present. They got everything in there. Another cool thing is, in that gauntlet match, James Storm made his return to Impact also. So that's that's a good get for them if he does, in fact, stick around. Because there was rumors that he was going to go to WWE after WrestleMania. So that, obviously, before COVID and everything, things change, obviously. So, if he's in there, that's a great get for them because James Storm, one of the best Impact wrestlers in the past, and, he can still give a lot to them. And they had much like WrestleMania, you have your Hall of Fame class. In TNA, they induct one person a year. And this year was Ken Shamrock, who was their first champion when they had control of the NWA belts and everything. And they made this feel huge. Like, they had guys calling in, former UFC opponents. The Rock was on an Impact Wrestling broadcast just talking about their battles back in the day. And it really felt big. And, I think everybody loves Ken Shamrock. He deserves this moment in the sun, I think. It is great. Like, I love Hall of Fame inductions for the most part, but, like, WWE, like, it's so, mundane that every year you get 5-6 people. You need your minority, you need your female, you need your tag team. Like, it just feels like filling slots for them sometimes. Whereas Impact, TNA, whatever you want to call them, like, doing one person a year makes it feel like a big deal. So hats off to them that, Ken Shamrock definitely deserves it. I think their first inductee was Sting a couple of years ago. They did Jeff Jarrett. They've done Abyss. So they, there's maybe 10 people in their Hall of Fame in total. I can look that up later. But
didn't Gail Kim? I think Gail Kim.
That was one. Yep, that was one for sure.
She was like the first, the first woman, right, to get inducted, I believe.
Mm-hmm. So I know you. I don't know if you watched the whole show or anything, but we were talking about it back and forth. Definitely got the world buzzing. I think Impact is off on the right foot. Moving hopefully out of the COVID era here soon, and I think they can really work off this show and get some more viewers over there on Access TV.
Oh yeah, that just sucks because not everyone has the Access channel. Like, I just found out that I have the Access channel. I don't even know what's on the Access channel.
Yeah, not to cut you off though. If you don't have it, you can actually while the show's live, you can watch it on Twitch.
Yeah, I remember you did say that.
So I mean, that's how I've been watching it. I don't have access either, but it'd be better if I did, but I mean, so if something intrigues somebody about Impact, they at least have a means to watch it, which is nice,
That's true.
So real quick, just because I pulled it up, the TNA Hall of Fame started in 2012. Sting, Kurt Angle, Jeff Jarrett, Earl Hebner, Gail Kim, as you said, Abyss, and Ken Shamrock. So they actually skipped 2017. So there's your list right there. Looks like, and I'm sorry, 2014, they put in their only tag team as Team 3D. So that's their whole Hall of Fame. Great list, and all those guys have done, and gal has done a lot for that company. So definitely all well-deserving. So props to you, TNA. I think you won the weekend, in my opinion, because I did enjoy that show top to bottom. And I can't say the same about the thing we're about to talk about next. First, the good stuff. WWE Hell in a Cell kicked off at 7 p.m. Eastern. WWE, I know you're listening.
Great
Do
time.
this every time. Start it at
Yes.
7. Do the pre-show at 6. It can be done by 10:30, 11 o'clock, even when you run later. Like, this one was done by, like, 10 on the nose. It was beautiful. Start it at this time every time. Like, I mean, granted, this was a fairly shorter, there was only, I guess, 6 matches on the card, but really there was only 3. Like, there was 3 Hell in a Cell matches and filler. So, pre-show, R-Truth beats Drew Gulak for a 24/7 title. Question: the nature of the 24/7 title, does it need to be contested in matches anymore? Shouldn't it all just be skits?
It should be skits, but I mean, it gives them a match.
Yeah,
they didn't have nothing to do for the pre-show, so it was like,
yeah.
I mean, even though you could have put something that you had in the main show, like 3 of the other matches that they was talking about, you could put one of them bad boys in there, but you know, it is what it is.
It is what it is. First match, surprisingly, was the I Quit match for the Universal Championship. Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso. This Hell in a Cell match was also an I Quit match. And it kind of turned into a strap match, too. So it was the first ever Hell in a Cell I Quit strap match. So, you know, they have that going for it, I guess. A lot of people are saying that, you know, the match of the year, you know, everything. I've heard a lot of great things about this match. And if you enjoyed it, awesome. I did, too, but not because the match was great. The match was fine. But what made this good was just, and I don't think I'm, you know, breaking news here for anybody, but like this story is what made this. The match was so, but the way it was integrated into their story, you know, really made it hard to look away from the TV. Even much like the last one, this got difficult to watch at times, but in a good way, you know?
I can't lie, I shedded some tears for this one, man.
Yeah.
I shedded some tears when Roman started crying. I was like, oh damn, man. He really sad, but then I also knew like he's a heel, so he's bullshitting right now.
That's his audition tape for when he starts doing movies in like 5 years. It's all gonna stem from this.
His Emmy and, you know, Best Actor Roman Reigns or Josh Fatu. I think that's his name. I think I don't know. I could be wrong. But man, it was a great match to tie the bow. I'm ready to see, because you know there was speculation that they was gonna do the faction like we talked about that one time. Because now Jey and Jimmy have to be Roman's like servants, assistants. So I'm ready to see. I like the story. I love the storyline. Like you said, the storyline was perfect. And like I said, man, that was my second match of the night.
And again,
even though it was great, yeah, the storyline made it better.
Right. So, and then really the ending part was the crazier situation, because you know Roman gets to the ramp and Alpha and Sika are there, the head shrinkers, the dad and uncle of the Usos, if I have my family tree for this family correct.
The dad of Roman,
I'm sorry.
One of them is the dad of Roman and Jey and Jimmy's
uncles. Right. Okay. So yeah, so that was a big moment. Usually in these kind of stories, when they get family involved, they almost come out and they're like, what are you doing? You're tearing the family apart. They accepted this as like it gave me like in like Black Panther, when like Killmonger beats the shit out of Black Panther, and like nobody's happy about it, but these are the rules. He's now the king. Like they can't do anything about it because this is the way things are settled. Like it really reminded me of that, and that was my favorite part of the whole thing. I did not expect to see them. They didn't have to say a word. They just put the lay on him, if it's even called that for them too. But yeah, that kind of like, even with everything that happened, that got another oh shit out of me, you know, because like who expected to see them there? So yeah, so they have to take order and acknowledge Roman as the tribal chief, or they'll be exiled from the family as well as their immediate family, their wives and their kids and stuff. So it's gonna be interesting moving forward with that. So they're gonna be kind of the henchmen, I guess. They're gonna not really wanting to, but that's gonna be, so we're gonna have the stable in a way, but not in any way that we expected to, I guess.
Yeah, but who knows? They might end up like liking it and doing great things with it. I'm excited.
Yeah, this is a very intriguing story. Imagine if they just did this in 2018 with Roman. Like, why did it take? This was a good time to try something with Roman because the fans aren't there to hijack it. I fully understand that, and that's probably what they're thinking. But this would have gotten over in any
Oh
era
yeah,
of this.
yes.
Like, any
Yeah.
point of, I think after the Shield breaking up, you could have almost immediately gone into this, and people would have dug it. You know,
See, I would have done it right after when Roman beat Undertaker.
that would also be like. There's pockets of time that this would have been great. That's another very good one for sure. Um, So the next match after this, if you can call it that, was Elias versus Jeff Hardy. And we haven't gotten to do one of these in a while, but WWE made it so that I can finally throw my hands up and say, who booked this shit? Because 7 minutes of nothing for Jeff to just hit Elias with his own guitar and lose by DQ. Made no sense. Why do this? You might as well just have them brawl in a backstage thing and the match never start. That actually would have been better. Like one of them, Jeff's coming out, Elias jumps him, or back, then they fight to the back and someone falls off something high onto something sharp or whatever, and like just that's it. Like that would have been so much better than making us. So I'm looking at the listings here. Supposedly this match was 7 minutes. It felt like 3. Like I felt like they did this so quickly that it was like why even bother? So this is we haven't done one in a while, but this really did make me think who thought this was a good idea.
Yeah, I felt the same way about it. It was bad. It was bad. I was really hoping that they was gonna give Elias the win. I mean, he just came back.
Sure, I mean he
And
could have won the normal way, and that would have also been
yeah,
better.
yeah. Even if it wasn't clean, as in like he hit the referee was knocked down, and he hit Jeff Hardy with his shield chair or with his
Or the
guitar.
guitar or something, yeah.
It would have been okay with that. I just needed a decisive winner, and you guys give me these DQs. DQs suck.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they're reasonable. If
Yeah.
some of them are I'm like, okay, all right, like the Sasha and Bailey back a couple of weeks ago. I
Mm-hmm.
was okay with that because we already knew they're not gonna do this for free.
Yeah, no, there are times where you can go by DQ or the match get thrown out or ref stoppage, but like they're a little too lenient with it, at times. And this was there are so many ways you could have done this better, I think. And like I've mentioned many times, Jeff Hardy's my favorite wrestler, so for him to waste his spot on here, I didn't think this was obviously not a Hell in the Cell match, but like they could have done some cool stuff in the cell. Jeff, like he's only had one. It was against Randy Orton. He did say when he came back that one of his reasons for coming back was to finally do a Hell in the Cell match. I mean, when you've had a career as long as his, your bucket list of stuff is very small, and this was one of the few
Yeah.
things that was on it. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad he got to cover that, but they could have wrapped him up in a match that required the cell, because I would argue, I think it's just because the pay-per-view was Hell in the Cell, the Roman Reigns Jey Uso thing, the cell was never used. Like it could have just been an I Quit match, and it would have been. You don't even realize that the cell is part of it in this. Like we've talked about it before that there used to be whenever a Hell in a Cell match, like the wrestling world would stop, and now you have 3 just because it's October, and it really kills what the Hell in the Cell was and what it's for. So maybe this match could have used the cell, but then obviously you need a winner because I was gonna say you can't get a DQ in a Hell in the Cell, but they've done that already with this the Fiend and Seth Rollins a year ago or 2 years ago, however long it's been now. That's my biggest problem with this show, that you're just forcing Hell in the Cell matches. You can do it with TLC, you can do it with Money in the Bank, like that's fine, Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, but you can't do it with this. Like I said last show, I think you can't. If it was an all steel cage pay-per-view, I'd be all for it. Like TNA used to do it, it was great. Like that would make so much more sense than just a bunch of Hell in the Cells for no reason. And Elimination Chamber, like at least it's to get you to WrestleMania. Like it's that last
Yeah.
roadblock. Like if it was anywhere else in the year calendar, I probably wouldn't like that either. But they found a spot for it that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And I like the fact that okay, like you said, Elimination Chamber. Oh, a Raw guy won the Royal Rumble, so we need a SmackDown guy to go against the
Right.
SmackDown champion.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I do like that too.
Yeah, so that
But you're
has
right.
its.
I definitely feel the same way about the Hell in a Cell. The I Quit match definitely could have just been a regular I Quit match, no
Mhm.
Hell in a Cell. Same match. You didn't need the main event. You didn't need the main event Hell in a Cell either. You could have done a Last Man Standing or
Mhm.
something. Because yes, it was good visual, but yeah, you could have done without it.
Yeah.
Only one was the pre main event.
Yeah, that one was perfect. That we'll get to here in a minute. One of the non-Hell in the Cell matches that I think I actually loved the execution of. This match was fine. Um, the Miz versus Otis for the Money in the Bank contract, ending with Tucker turning on Otis. When I first saw this, the second it happened, like Otis goes into the ropes and Tucker hits him with the briefcase. I thought they were trying to pull off the, oh, I'm throwing Miz into the ropes. Oh, I got reversed. You thought Miz was coming your way. I thought they did that like bad, and then I realized no, he hit him on purpose. And even the Miz selling it was great. Like the whole time, he doesn't break eye contact with Tucker the whole time he's like pinning him, and he's like, he's shocked as anybody. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that ending was great, and then the reasoning behind it was the best. I totally agreed with everything. He's like, listen, man, this whole me and Tucker are buddies. He's been on this. He's got the girl. He got Money in the Bank. I've been a good friend through all this. We go in these tag matches. I'm taking the beating, and then I tag him in so we can do the worm. And like, I love when heels have realistic reasons to be heel, and like you can't blame this guy at all in the kayfabe world. Like, he's just been in the background, and like for a while they, Tucker or Otis was still like treating him well, but he probably did start taking him for granted after a while. And he's like, we're supposed to be a tag team, and he's dealing with all this, and a part of it might have been now that he doesn't have the Money in the Bank, we can be a team again. But then Otis comes flying in, and they start brawling, and that's obviously gonna go to something. And I like Otis. I have no issues with him. I have no issues with comedy wrestlers like him. But he was never gonna win the championship. If that upsets people, I'm sorry. Facts don't care about your feelings. They were never gonna give him the belt. So you might as well give it to someone like The Miz, who, can you believe, hasn't been champion in 10 years? It would not be a bad idea for him to maybe get one more run with it. Like, I'd be okay with that down the line.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at what the Miz is doing now, it's like he has reality shows. He's starring commercials, movies. He's a mainstream star.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I like the fact that there was an explanation right after Tucker did that.
Yeah, I'm glad we
Um,
didn't have to wait till Friday or
Mo-
Monday or whatever day. Yeah.
yeah. My only thing was, yeah, he did hit him he turned on him.
Mm-hmm.
But what are we gonna get to? 'Cause, both of them are on two different brands.
That's also an issue.
Otis is on SmackDown and Tucker's on Raw. So what
Survivor
are we gonna
Series?
like?
Maybe,
But
right?
why though? Why would I
Brand
be?
warfare?
I'm not gonna be invested in it because I'm gonna see everything else that's going
Yeah.
on.
Which,
So
here's a thought, too. Which is a random thing I thought about yesterday. Survivor Series is coming. They've made that the brand warfare show. Why would you do brand warfare like 5 weeks after the draft? Like, I'm supposed to care
yeah,
about what brand I'm on now? Like,
I never understood that either because they've done that before in the past too, and I've
but it
always
was
said the
never this
same
close
thing.
to Survivor Series.
Yeah,
It
it
was
was always
usually
it was
like,
always like September,
yeah,
um, sometimes
sometimes
August.
after WrestleMania, like a month after WrestleMania sometimes.
Yeah,
So it's like, if you're, I don't know, who's someone that moved, like Seth Rollins is on SmackDown, and he's going to be in a premiere match defending the honor of SmackDown, and he's been here for like a month. Like, why does he care about SmackDown, So just
yeah.
a thought. Go ahead and continue. But I did have that, this is poorly timed to do any of this.
Well, speaking of SummerSlam, I don't know if you saw the graphic. There was a lot of rumors saying that they was not going to do NXT a part of it this year,
Mm-hmm.
but in the graphic, I don't know if it was a misstep or a mistake or whatever. Like, it looks like we're going to get NXT thrown in there too again. So just thinking about some of the matches, I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited. I'm
Oh, yeah.
I'm 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 thrilled. Like, I would like to see Damian Priest versus Bobby Lashley versus Sami Zayn.
Yeah. That would be great.
I wouldn't mind seeing that, or the tag teams, Street Profits versus New Day versus Oni and Danny Burch.
You're right. The logo, I'm just looking at it for the 2020 Survivor Series, and it has red, blue, and yellow like lightning bolts or whatever you want to call them. So yeah, it's true. It is possible that they're involved.
Yeah,
Which I'm all for. Like they need to be. I understand that. Like the first year they did it with them, NXT won like the night. I'm sure they won't do that again because they can't do that too much. It's going to make your other brands look bad. But if they win a match here or there, like that's like that the mid card triple threat, like Damian Priest doesn't need to win that necessarily. It wouldn't hurt him to lose to Sami Zayn or Bobby Lashley. Like no big deal, really.
yeah.
So yeah, no big deal with that. But I'm still interested to see what happens with Tucker and Otis, and like you said, with the brands being different, like, because I thought Tucker. I remember hearing that you could pick the brand you wanted to be on if you didn't get drafted. So,
He ended up he did get drafted.
Towards the end, I guess.
During one of the talk, either Talking Smack or Raw Talk, one of them.
Gotcha. Okay, so that makes sense.
Got drafted that way.
I mean, a Tucker versus Otis match will be fine. Like, we're going to get it eventually. I'm curious what they're going to do with either of these. Like, Otis will have his little niche, but I'm a little concerned what they're going to do with Tucker because I have nothing against the guy. I mean, maybe back to NXT, get rebranded, do some other stuff. Like, what else are you going to – like, I don't – if you're a fan of Tucker and, there's nothing wrong with the guy. He's a typical big guy worker. I'd be a little concerned about where his career is going to go with this team being broken up,
Yeah, unless he decides to join the Miz and Morrison.
Yeah, I don't know how long that'll last because they need to break them up too. Like Morrison is another guy that could get a main event attempt, before his time is out or whatever. So that's a team I wanted to see split in the draft that made sense. Like keep Morrison on SmackDown and Miz can go back to Raw. No big because like you said, mainstream star appeal. They probably want him on USA. Whereas Morrison's more the athlete. He fits the Fox Sports presentation.
Yeah.
So like that, I'm good with that too. So yeah, we'll see. But I love the execution of this for what was essentially a filler match. It was a good way to get the contract off of the Miz. Here's another question. So does Miz have till Money in the Bank still, or does the 1 year clock reset? I assume not, because then you'll have briefcases overlap, right?
Yeah, I believe he'll have it until
June or whatever it is. So yeah, I mean the last time the Miz, again 2010, 10 years ago, cashed in on Randy Orton. And we'll get there in a minute, but guess who has the belt now? We'll see. But okay, this is not the order, but I'm gonna get this one out of the way. Bobby Lashley, defeated something named Slapjack in a U.S. Championship match for no real reason, I think, right?
All right, here we go. Remember how you said that we haven't done Who Booked This Shit in a while?
Mm-hmm.
This is my Who Booked This Shit.
Two on the same show.
Two on the same show, Phil. Two on the same show, bro. All right. So why are you? They're burying Retribution. They just started. They're doing a bad service to them. Like I was okay with the match. Who's not gonna tap out of the what's the Lashley walk or whatever he calls it?
Yeah, like the full Nelson. Sure, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I'm okay with that. But I'm not okay with the Retribution gets in the ring and they're about to do their double team on Bobby Lashley, and Bobby Lashley fights them off. And then the other three members of the Hurt Business comes out and they scamper away when they still had a chance to kick Bobby Lashley's ass and then have them running chase, and then you could get out. Then I'm okay with that. But not just scamper out just because the Hurt Business is walking down the ramp and you get beat up 2-on-1. I don't like that. And then you also have a fifth person. Yes, Retting, aka Mia Yim. She could fight guys too. And I would have loved to see not Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin versus Retting. Because I don't know if you follow her on Twitter, but her and Sheldon, they beef hard.
Do you know who Slapjack is under the mask.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
I don't want to.
Shane.
Shane Thorne. Yeah, I wasn't gonna.
Yeah.
I was curious if that was someone that we knew, and good for him that he's involved in something now, because when he was in his TM61 team, I forget the name of the other guy. He basically asked for his release to go back to whatever country, because I think his wife is gonna have a baby or family related. So he basically like gave up the dream to go be with his family, which is commendable, and that kind of left Shane Thorne on an island. So like, I'm glad they're doing stuff with him, but I didn't realize that's who that was. I don't know what to make of Retribution, because one, they come and they destroy everything, and then somehow that turns into a second or third round draft pick, whatever they ended up being, and then you they haven't had a match. Is this the first official match of a Retribution member?
No, they fought last week too.
Okay, so at least they're starting to actually have matches.
Yeah,
but I thought it was funny that it was like, oh, the Hurt Business gets to pick who's going to be in the match. And they could stack the odds in their favor, and instead they make Bobby put his belt up on the line against these people that we don't really know nothing about. It kind of puts Bobby in a bad situation, but luckily he's, who he is, and he disposed of him easy. This just shouldn't have happened. Like, we should have just had another brawl again. Like, but you want to be able to look back, and I mean, this match was 3 minutes and 50 seconds with entrances. Are you kidding me right now? Like, this didn't need to happen. But
yes, this was definitely the who booked this shit moment of.
Yeah, I mean the Jeff and Elias thing. Well, that was regular bad. This is advanced badness, to quote like a SpongeBob. But like, yeah, this was not needed. But luckily, actually, the way the match went, it was right after the true match of the night here, story and all, which was the Hell in a Cell for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Sasha Banks versus Bayley. I've always said the best women's match I've ever seen is these two ladies from TakeOver Brooklyn. That is, to me, there's other great ones. The second, actually, weirdly enough, so we used to go to NXT events all the time. We were in Coco, me, Billy, and Jake. Shout out to those guys. And they had Charlotte versus Bayley in the main event of this house show. And they just decided to put on a 5-star match for, like, the 200 people that were there. And for some reason, it was better than any Bayley-Charlotte match I've seen on TV. Maybe it's because I'm there. I don't know, but it was like an Armory show. But that's number 2. But that Brooklyn thing was always number 1 to me. And it was that with another wrinkle. Like, this was a match that needed the cell, that used the cell properly, and you can see why they had to put these girls in a Hell in the Cell to settle this beef. This is when you use a Hell in the Cell match for this right here. And it was fantastic. Loved it.
This should have been the number 1 and only Hell in a Cell match, and this should have main evented, because there was something big that happened.
Yeah.
Yes, the main event did have something big happen, but not as big as this, because we've seen that match multiple times. We haven't really seen.
I mean, we've seen this match, but not in. It still was a bigger deal.
Not in a span. Yeah, not in a like a quick span like how that match is. It was like 4 matches. I think they had like 4 matches in the last 3-4 months. Between Drew and Randy.
Yeah.
This match, this is the first one. This is the first real match since I don't even remember. I don't remember this first real match.
And really, there was history on the line, because like Banks has been, Raw Women's Champion. She's never been SmackDown Women's Champion, so that gives her the Grand Slam, which they actually made a big deal of for once. Usually, it's just like a little footnote for somebody when they win the obscure belt that eluded them or whatever. So no, this was huge. I mean, Bayley has been champion for a long time. Sasha's biggest thing is she would win the belt and drop him right away. I think she's finally going to get the run with it that she's deserved, because all her Raw Women's titles were hot potatoed with Charlotte. So I feel like this one she'll get the real run.
That's what I said too. I was like, yo, okay, yeah, she won the title. Great. Now what is she going to do? Because usually her first defense, she loses it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I want to see what they're gonna do with her. Are they gonna continue strapping that rocket to the moon with her? Can you imagine a match at Survivor Series, Bill? Can you imagine the match? Sasha Banks Io Shirai, and Asuka.
I'll take
Come
that.
on, man.
I'll take 2 of those.
Come on, man. Take my money, please. Take it.
And
Take it all.
there's also a dynamic to this that somebody pointed out that I didn't realize. So Bayley had never been in a Hell in a Cell, so that was her handicap. Sasha's been in every women's Hell in a Cell match there's been and has never won.
Never
What
won.
a unique concept. Like I didn't have the volume up all the way. Like I was watching, football and other things last night, and we were watching Halloween Town, getting in the holiday spirit too as well.
There you go.
But yeah, great movie, great series of movies. Did you know there's more than one of those things? I had no idea until the other day. But I've only seen the original, the Disney Channel one. But there's like 3 more that we're getting through.
Yeah.
I am off topic, and I apologize. I lost track of. I guess what I'm saying is like that I had the sound down. That's where I'm getting at. So I don't know if they mentioned that stat in the commentary, but someone pointed out to me that Bayley's never been in one. Sasha's been in them all and have lost them all. So like that's a really cool dynamic. I don't know if they mentioned it, but they should have.
They did. They
cool.
They announced it during the entrances. They said the same thing. They said, yeah, Sasha's been in every single one of the women's Hell in a Cells, but she's never won. And they did say that Bayley, this is her first time.
Okay, so that's a really cool way to set the table for that feud for sure.
Yeah.
So then the main event of the night was Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship in a Hell in the Cell. I kind of get this one in a cell because based off the ambulance match, with all the outside interference from the legends, you could argue that it's like, all right, one-on-one, who's it going to be? But it's like there's worse setups for a Hell in the Cell that I've seen. This one isn't great, but it's whatever. I'll take it, right? In like Talladega Nights when Ricky Bobby says, I'm not quite sure what to do with my hands. For me, this is 2 guys that were like, we're not quite sure what to do with the cell. Because they didn't really utilize it all that much. They went outside the ring. They climbed up to the top. I think Randy had like a lightsaber in his hand at some point and they like Randy climbs to the top of the cell and Drew's standing there and Randy gives him this look like we're kind of obligated to fight up here. Like it's just part of Hell in the Cells apparently. And like, listen, I'm not saying someone needs to take the Mick Foley bump, but like falling from half of the cell, it's not worth the bump. It's not worth the visual. They didn't even capture it very well. I don't know if you noticed, me and you were both, cameraman by trade. They almost kind of missed the fall. Like they got it like last second. And I'm sure you go on YouTube, they'll have an alternate angle that you can see it better. But like live in show, it was almost for nothing. You almost missed the bump completely.
Oh yeah, I said the same thing. Yeah, you had to watch the replay. That's why they replayed it like 5 times after it happened from different angles. It was bad. Yes, I liked it. I kind of liked it.
It was fine.
Up on the top. When it was on the top of the cell, you could see how big the cell is and like how high they actually were. You actually see the Amway
the Tron thing.
Yeah. The Tron, yeah, you that was actually see that. And I'm like, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, if I'm gonna shit on the camera crew from the other one, that was actually a really cool looking, like Mortal Kombat final level looking shot they had there. That looked really cool actually.
And I was just like, I'm like, what happens if someone like throws one off and they accidentally clip one of the Trons? Like that would have made my night.
I was thinking I was thinking an RKO through it may have been a little safer to do. Maybe. I mean, I know the ring is super, like, I don't know. That seemed more doable than what they did. The bump they did seemed forced to me. Like, all right, we got to climb over here, get close to me. All right, let me just, like, I feel like the bump wasn't worth it. I think, and the whole match built to that. So when that didn't land well, the whole match kind of didn't land well.
Yeah. But hey, we got a new champion. We'll see what happens. Obviously, we obviously don't know if this is gonna be it. It's probably not gonna be it. We're probably gonna see this for another week or so. Probably leading into Survivor Series.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see Roman, Drew, and I guess Finn.
Yeah.
If they don't strip him from the title,
right?
That would have been pretty. That would have been pretty dope at Survivor Series.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Orton, Finn, and
Randy,
Roman, still good.
yeah,
You know?
that's still pretty good. Yeah.
I mean, some people are upset about this. Randy is as hot as he's been in years, so you might as well do this for now. It does, Drew McIntyre's 7th-month run with the title is now over. Not once did he get to compete in front of fans, which is really disheartening because he did a great job. He pulled this company through the toughest time as a performer there's ever been. People talk about when Eddie was the champion, right? Seats were down, and when Diesel was the champ, like live events, like you didn't even get to look any of that because every show you went to had no people. Like I sincerely hope, like Orton winning was fine, like it was a nice change. I think I even sort of predicted it. I was like, the third, you can't beat Orton 3 times. That just doesn't make sense to me. So like I kind of saw this coming a little bit. I'm not going to say it was like obvious or anything, but give him his run. That's fine. But when people come back, even if it's like midway next year, Drew deserves another run. Maybe when stuff gets shuffled, maybe it's with the Universal title to make it seem different or something. But he definitely he did a fantastic job as champion.
Yeah.
And you couldn't have asked more from him given the circumstance. And had people been there, he was over his shit. Like he would have been great. Like the whole countdown to Claymore kick and all that crap they were doing with him. He was over as a son of a gun. So like you can't ask for more than him. Good job for Randy. That's number 14 for him in the all-time. And that brings the number for the total Evolution members to a solid 50, which is kind of cool to know.
Damn.
So it's 16. I guess you can do the math. 16 for Flair, Triple H, and Orton both have 14, and then the rest are Batista at 12 or whatever that would be. I'm bad at math, but yeah. So it's an even 50. So good for Orton. I just do hope. Yeah, Steiner math. They got three quarters of a chance of getting that one right. Yeah, Orton's the champ. Good for him. I got no issues with it. I just do hope that Drew gets a chance when fans are back in the arena for sure.
Yeah, I hope so too. But then also I'm actually intrigued because I talked about this before. Randy Orton wants to get to that 16 mark and face John Cena to see who would actually be the number one.
Yeah.
And Ric Flair wants that to happen too. Ric Flair wants.
He
John
did
Cena
mention that in that great promo. Yeah.
And so I would love to see that too. That would be freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Long-term booking WWE.
I mean, they might fall ass backwards into that, and you got to give it. I mean, if you're to do that, I mean, John Cena's kind of a ghost around there anyway. It's another reason why you can't see him. But like, Orton would. Thank you. Be here all week. Orton would have to win, I would think, right? Because he's the one that's there that's never bothered them before, I guess. If that match happens, I think Orton's got to be the one to do it, though. Yeah. I think he has to,
How many titles does Brock have?
Like 12 or 13, I think. I don't know. I'll look it up. You finish your thought. I'll look it up for you.
But yeah, I would love to see that match. That match would be great. I want to see if the Miz is going to try to cash in on him as we speak, because we're shooting this on Monday.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, tonight it could happen. I mean, I mentioned earlier when he was last time, he was when he cashed in last time, it was on Orton. So like, it might not happen tonight, but I guarantee you they'll tease it. Like Orton will be in the back and like Miz will walk by with the briefcase. Like they'll do something. Like they should at least if they don't. It's a missed opportunity. So Brock has 5 WWE title wins and 3 Universal. So he's at 8. But I think with him, he keeps them for fucking ever when he gets it. That's the difference, He's like guaranteed 10-month runs every time, which is stupid, I guess. So I think we did a great job. We covered, look at this, 4 promotions, 3 shows, in one episode. Great way to spend our 10th episode. So thank you guys for checking these out. I got one little tidbit for you. As you know, I'm one of the few people, not few, I mean, there's enough of us, but I'm still very involved watching NWA's product and stuff. And Donovan, do you remember Elijah Burke, D'Angelo Dinero, the Pope?
Yes, I do.
As of last week, he is the new NWA TV champion. So I just wanted to throw that in there. Great match. Always loved the guy as a performer. For a while, he was just managing guys, and out of nowhere, he got back in the ring and won the title from Ziggy Dice for people that know him. But great match. He looks in phenomenal shape. I'll try and throw a picture up here at the end of the show. But, yeah, new TV champ. So when they do finally go back to weekly shows, I'm excited to see him mix it up with some of the younger guys. So congrats to
Damn,
the Pope.
I remember him was at ECW. I remember that.
Oh yeah, I'll try and find the match and I'll shoot it over to you. It was good stuff.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I want to thank you all for listening. Wrestle Report episode 10. We'll be back next week. Use the hashtag WrestleReportPod to kind of interact with us. Let us know what you thought of the show. Look out on my Twitter at PhilTalkSports for wrestling polls. We'll probably have one up for the next episode. Until then, I'm Phil and he's Don, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.